Nelson has long been known as a picturesque gem, an historic Kootenay town with roots in the resource industry, with a remarkable modern role as a home for the arts. In fact, Nelson was recently ranked number 5 in a survey of North America's top 100 little arts towns. It was a cause for celebration by some, but for others, it was one more reason to stress the importance of the town's pioneering past. Tonight on Cover Story, reporter Dale Drewery discovers the story behind our best little arts town.
Broad daylight on the main street of Nelson, and there appears to be a man about to break in to a second-story apartment. Because from the inside, he's just heard his cue, and the curtains raised on the living room theater.
Animal hospital? Mm-hmm. What?
The play is called P.S. Your Cat is Dead, and the venue is Michael Grace's apartment.
It was wanting to do theater and wanting to do it more than 3 times. And that's what usually happens in Nelson.
So he cut down on his costs by clearing out the furniture and welcoming in an audience.
I think one of the biggest things for me about this is hearing them laugh and knowing afterwards that they were sitting in my living room for an hour and a half and I just totally entertained them and they weren't thinking of anything else.
Writer Anne DeGrace was there that afternoon, only she was thinking about how to turn the entertainment into an editorial, actually an artitorial, for the Nelson Daily News.
I was proud because it's such a grassroots effort and it's so well done. I feel the things that we do from a grassroots level in Nelson are always done really well.
The people of Nelson have always known this is a special place. The rest of the world found that out back in 1987.
What do you know about this guy?
Well, I know he's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
The film Roxanne immortalized the mountain town and its local fire hall.
Right! What?
In real life, Nelson's almost as quaint. The downtown is heaven for heritage lovers, and the streets, including the occasional alleyway, are decorated with public art. A few years ago, an American author heard about Nelson's reputation as a picturesque community full of artists. He decided to include it in the book he was writing. It's called The 100 Best Small Art Towns in America, and in it, Nelson ranks number 5. That vote of confidence comes, in part, from something called Artwalk. Every summer for the past decade, business has paired up with the arts to display work by local people. In 1997, Nelson held its first annual Streetfest. For 3 days each July, performers and the people who come to see them take over whole blocks of the town's main drag. But you can spot buskers in Nelson all summer long, and not everyone here is happy about that.
And this one over here,
Dave Duncan is president of Timberland Consultants, a local forest management company.
Personally, I really don't like buskers myself because I find they intrude in my space. And I know many of the retailers in town really resent the buskers that are on the street. But the people in the arts community have kind of forced that issue many times.
Nelson's connection to art is rooted in its history. The town was founded in the late 1800s on the promise of gold and silver, but it was riches of a different sort that interested the wives of the men who'd come to run the place. They were accustomed to the finer things in life, and they were determined to bring them to Nelson. As the director of the Nelson Museum, Shawn Lamb is the keeper of the town's past.
In 1897, a piano tuner said that there were more pianos in Nelson, in the homes, than there were in the entire area, in all the music halls and concert halls and homes and everything. Now, so what does that say? That says that the kind of people came here were the kind of people to whom that was important.
By the early 1900s, Nelson boasted a theater, an opera house, even an orchestra. But the town is perhaps best known for its art school, which has existed on and off over the past 50 years. The latest incarnation is the Kootenay School of the Arts, which opened back in the early 1990s. Artist Lou Lynn helped establish it, despite the challenges.
It's maybe the same thing that influences a number of us to live here. I mean, why would I live here, right? I could live somewhere else. Well, I don't know why I live here or why all my friends live here, but we have this idea of how we want to live life, and that maybe we can have an influence and help change things. And so I think a stubborn group of people got together and said, we're going to have an art school. By God, we have one.
When it comes to supporting the arts, much of the town has quietly followed suit. This stationery store, which is kitty corner to the art school, has started carrying art supplies for the first time in 28 years. The town's new grand piano was bought with significant help from the community. This venue is Nelson's Capitol Theater. It was renovated back in 1988 to the tune of $1.2 million. A third of that money was raised locally. And in order to cover all the arts events going on around town, Nelson's daily newspaper has introduced an art section twice a week.
People no longer say out loud that that the arts are a bunch of fringe hippies or something, but they may still think it a little bit. I think less and less, it's becoming almost politically incorrect in Nelson, this best little small arts town in Canada, to say that that the arts isn't something worth supporting and getting behind 100%. But there are definitely people that still feel that way.
I think there's a certain view by many people in the resource community that a lot of the artists are flaky, that they are heavily dependent on social services to survive, and that they're trying to cram their vision of Nelson being an arts-only community down their throats.
The barge was hooked to the railway track.
Shawn Lamb believes the solution lies in compromise, by looking to Nelson's past to pave the way to its future.
People were so brave, to make that commitment. And I think the people who put up those buildings, they didn't know if the Silver King mine was going to last. They didn't. They put up marble and stone, and I just think that's the lesson. We still have to take chances. We still have to be willing to gamble that it's going to be all right. It's going to be good, because those guys did, and it was, and that's what we need to do.
For Broadcast One, I'm Dale Drewery in Nelson.
And we have much more. Stay with us. We'll be back right after the break.